Hey everyone, this podcast is part of Story Mode, the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. You can support us and gain access to other great exclusive podcasts at patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. Is this? No, this is not our first of the year. We did Soul last week.
We did.
Yeah.
Welcome to the second of the year. My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Hunter.
Hunter.
Not to be confused with the movie Hunter.
Or the movie Hunted.
Or
the anime Hunter x Hunter.
Right. Or the future sequel Hunter. That's how they're doing it.
The wolf is back. Ate a raccoon and left the paw.
This isn't a normal wolf.
It's just a hungry wolf looking for an easy meal. I will catch it.
What is that?
It's a ring.
The wolf ate a ring?
Maybe it was attached to something that tasted good.
What, like a finger?
Where did she say she found this?
Out in the woods.
Hello. This is a movie.
This is a film.
Folks, this is a movie that it was on our Deserves More Hype. You might have heard about it in context of it having a shocking ending, is what everybody talked about.
Yes. Yeah.
This stars Camille Sullivan
and Devon Sawa. And Nick Stahl.
Devon Sawa.
Divine Sawa.
Nick Staho.
Nick Stahl.
And Summer Howell is the little girl.
Okay.
It's not really starring Devon or Nick, really.
No, it's Camille Sullivan. It's her.
It's Camille Sullivan.
She's the main character.
Yeah, this is my goodness.
I put this on my end of the year list for Collider.
This is great.
I really liked this movie.
Yeah. Everybody's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Everybody's killing it.
One of my favorite things about this movie is that it subverts itself about halfway through. And you kind of you kind of could guess that from the trailers, but like the humorously reductive way that I've been selling this to people is Devon Sawa fights a wolf. And while that is part of the movie, it is by no means what the movie is about.
Yeah, not at all. That's the thing. They sold it as like Devon Sawa in Hunter fighting a wolf. We're going to go ahead and jump into spoilers right now and say that Devon Sawa dies off screen.
Halfway through.
He is dead.
He's dead, yeah.
He's doing great. I mean, he's not the main character. His performance is really good because they focus on him at first to sort of make you think he might be the main character.
Yeah.
And in those scenes, he's very good. You think that, I thought they were going to be like, oh, they're living in the woods. There must be a reason. Devon Sawa might be like, like an ex-criminal on the run or something.
No, and it's
going to be him versus Nick Stahl or something like that. Or the wolf becomes an issue. The wolf.
I cannot stress enough. The wolf does not matter.
This movie, I would have loved for, without getting into the ending shot yet, I would have loved for the ending shot to be a reverse of the wolf, like whistling casually and walking back into the woods. This wolf just watching and being like, "Oh my god!"
The wolf just peeking out and being like, "Shit!"
Yeah, holy shit! I better get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. It's basically the story is Devon Sawa and Camille Sullivan are a married couple he's like third or fourth generation trapper. So he's always lived off the grid in I think they're in Ontario or in Vancouver. They're in Canada somewhere.
Right.
I think, or they're like right on the border.
Yeah.
It's like Pacific Northwest. But they're having a bad season The price of their furs are going down. He's teaching their daughter how to, the family trade. She's like 13-ish. She's a young teenager. And the mom wants them to move to the city, not necessarily to stop trapping, but she's just like, look, we're making less money each year. It's like we picked this life, but our daughter didn't.
She's like, you chose this life. I chose this life when I chose you. Our daughter didn't have a choice. Mm-hmm. She should be going to school.
Yes, she's not going to school.
Yeah.
So later on, she doesn't know what an ID card is.
Right. Yeah. She's got that like real hermit vibe,
Yeah, she's got pretty big blind spots in her knowledge about the world. And it's because they live off the grid.
Yeah, so the mom is very rightfully like, we need to get the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah.
This has been fun and all, but now we have a kid. Devon Sawa is like very stoic, very like changing the subject, not clearly is like set in his ways. His whole thing is like, I'm here to protect, I'm here to provide. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna continue on this way.
Boy, does he fuck that up.
Yeah, really fucks that up. Devon, if you're listening, good job, buddy.
Yeah.
Way to get clocked in the head in the woods.
Way to get brained by Nick Stahl.
Yeah. By Nick Stahl, Devon.
Nick Stahl. Nick Stahl, who'd been wounded. He'd been bitten in the leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But his attitude basically, so they're being hunted by a wolf. There's wolf problems about, and Devon goes out to hunt the wolf, and he finds it.
Well, the thing is he won't tell anyone about it. Like,
no, it's the stoic, I'll handle it attitude.
She's like, and they do a good job of juxtaposing them with there's a kind of a B plot with two Forest Service rangers essentially.
Yeah.
And they show it's a man and a woman, and they show the man going out like twice to these rich people's like winter cabin or whatever. Like it's clear that they're from the city and they only spend like vacations in this cabin. And they keep calling about this bear. It's like a tiny bear. It's like a baby bear. And he has to go out and kill it, and then he also has to go out and write them a ticket because they're not storing their garbage properly, which keeps bringing the bears back. And they juxtapose that with this like extremely off the grid family. They don't even have electricity, and like the wolf they know this wolf. Like they make it clear that this wolf has prowled around before and fucked up their traps and eaten their bait and stuff like that.
Right.
And he refuses to call anybody and report the wolf.
Right. It's two different.
The two extreme opposites.
Yeah. But it's the same, I guess, hubris. Like, it's the same ego thing because they can't stop leaving their trash out. So they're not listening to anybody. They're set in their ways the same way Devon Sawa is refusing, to the point that when he goes out to find the woods, he finds a murder sprawl.
He finds a stash of murdered women.
Yeah, and like they do a great job with the decay level varies.
Yeah.
So like it's clearly been happening for like years.
Yeah.
And he doesn't tell anybody either.
He doesn't tell anybody about that.
He seems to want to handle it. And so what he does is just like the wolf, he puts traps in that area, thinking like, well, when they come back.
It seems to
be, if the wolf comes,
right,
to eat
exactly.
Because he sees the wolf eating an arm.
Eating a hand, yeah.
Yeah.
And they hint at that. Like, they reinforce it's been going on for years because they're like, well, this wolf keeps coming back. There has to be something that's drawing him here. And it's probably that stash of murder bodies.
Yeah.
that keeps the wolf coming back.
They're having a great time.
Yeah.
The wolf are like, this is fucking great.
But yeah,
I got a whole stash of bodies here to choose from.
He takes a whole ass day. Like, he doesn't tell his wife what he found. He doesn't call the police. He just goes back out the next day and sets traps and waits.
Yeah, because he knows that this is going to compromise his way of life.
Yes.
By telling anyone, and the cops pointed out, because that's the secret I guess he's keeping from her, because she briefly goes, when he goes missing, she briefly goes to the Rangers, and they're like, that's not his land. If you report this, there are going to be questions about where you're living. So that's probably why he doesn't report it, right?
Probably.
Because he knows what she seems a little surprised by that fact.
Right, because he insists it's like his family has lived on that land for like 3 or 4 generations. But
right, and he's probably not wrong.
Apparently they're doing so illegally.
Yeah. And so it's again like set in his ways. It's and the way the Rangers handle it, they're like, look, if the wolf is bothering you, it's kind of on you. Like you're in the wolf's territory. We're not going to go to the wolf's house and shoot it because you pricks are living out there.
Right. There's like no there's not
they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
There's nothing like it hasn't attacked them. So they can't be like there's nothing really to report other than that. Listen, there's this big dangerous wolf out there. My husband went out looking for it and he's not back.
Right. It's one of those things where you talk to people who are like professional trackers or search and rescue. I'm pretty sure like most of the things they have to deal with are jackasses, is hubris.
Yeah.
It's people going out into the woods and getting themselves killed because they weren't prepared.
Oh,
Not
100%.
to say Devon Sawa was prepared, but it's again them like it's this feeling, and I like Devon Sawa. He also it's this idea of I don't want help from anybody because they are putting it upon themselves to live out there.
Yeah,
but it's also I want to preserve this way of life. I want to prove that I can exist out here.
Right. So the first half of the movie is kind of about survival, like not just they're out there,
they're tanning hides,
living like
they're
survivalists,
trapping.
but it's also like that way of life surviving because it's not like they're making less and less money and they can't like they have very little food. It's a shitty way to live.
Yeah, when she goes to the Rangers and they're like, "There's nothing we can do to help," and then she's like, "Do you have any food?" Because when Devon Sawa doesn't come back, they're essentially living paycheck to paycheck.
Yes, yeah.
But trapping wise, where like if they don't trap anything that day, they're not eating.
Essentially, they do go to she goes into town to the store to sell some furs at the beginning, but she has to cut way back on the stuff she's buying because the furs are just worthless. So they have a couple of like canned goods and stuff, but the majority is they're only eating whatever they catch, and it's clear that like the little girl has to show her how to skin an animal, so it's clear she doesn't normally do the hunting.
Right. They later on they show her catch a rabbit, an adorable, delicious rabbit, and she hates that she has to break its little adorable neck, which is setting something up.
It sure is.
As is the fact that so when Devon Sawa leaves, they are confronted by the wolf. And she gets her daughter behind her and screams at the wolf, which I'm sure is a survival technique too, like a way to ward off specific animals. But the wolf is just like, "What? Okay, fuck this," runs away. But that's sets up.
That's also
her
foreshadowing.
Attitude. Yeah. So Devon Sawa finds this stash of corpses.
He plants some gnarly ass traps that will come back later.
Yeah. And then we just never see him again.
We just don't see him again. Yeah, we don't see him again. We see his dead body like three days later. While he's gone, Nick Stahl shows up in the middle of the night. They hear him crying out.
Yeah, like a little wuss. And Nick Stahl is in the woods. He clearly got attacked by the wolf. Or something. Or something. Yes.
Something bit him.
Yeah. She drags his ass to the cabin. Nurses him back to health.
And there's a couple of things here where they keep showing both the kind of like what a double-edged sword living like this is.
Yeah.
Because like the daughter's like, Dad says we never bring anyone in here.
Right.
And she's like, well, your dad's not here, and I'm sure your dad would help somebody if they needed help. And they should have followed his rule, but also it's his rules that got them into this situation.
Also, like, what are the odds?
Yeah, what are the odds? Yeah, and then, of course, you find out, like, when she finds his dead body later, he has, like, a sled with blood on the left-hand side, so it was clear that he was dragging Nick Stahl. Like, he was trying to help Nick Stahl.
Yeah.
And then Nick Stahl hit him from behind.
Yeah, it's right. But we also know that Nick Stahl's the one who put those ladies there, right?
Yeah, it's pretty, like, we know we're watching a movie. Like, so it's like they he's just this kind of mysterious stranger.
It's weird that Devon Sawa wouldn't know that either, but
maybe he did. We don't know what
maybe he did.
We never know
what happened. Yeah, we don't know what happened.
Maybe he's the one that, like, maybe that's not a bite. Maybe he cut him or shot him.
Yeah. But what so at this point she finds Nick Stahl. She's nursing him back to health. We know damn well what he is.
Yeah, you don't put grimy Nick Stahl in your movie and have us not think he's a murderer.
Yeah, and also you have a murderer on the loose, and there's very few suspects at this point.
Yeah, there's only like 6 actors in this movie.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, it's Nick Stahl.
It's Nick Stahl. Yeah.
He claims he was like a photographer that got lost in the woods. Mm-hmm. She nurses him back to health. She's like going to drag him to the car to get help, and he acts like a big baby.
He really, and it upsets the daughter, so they stop.
And
she's really adamant about getting him the fuck out of their house. She's like,
yes.
You got to go to a hospital. We have to get you to the truck. That's it. Period. That's what's happening.
This is how the wolf has purpose, because the wolf gives them a reason. Like, in terms of just writing this, the wolf gives them a reason to not leave.
Right.
The wolf is a constant threat.
Yeah, and they can't, like, she's burdened by dragging the sled. The little girl's not great with the rifle, and they've got big, wailing, bleeding Nick Stahl in the middle. That's just like screaming for a wolf.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, they can't. You're right. It is a good narrative reason to have the wolf, and I think there's also thematic reasons behind it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's what makes it a good movie, you know.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Is the wolf is able to keep them there, but the wolf is also just a great looming presence throughout.
Yeah,
and so, geez, did we miss anything? Oh, one of the rangers does the thing that always gets you killed, which is a little too curious. He keeps rolling by a car that's parked on the side of the road, and he's like, I'm gonna go check it out. And I was like, that's how you die, buddy. And he goes out and he finds the stash.
He doesn't,
and
die,
he finds more than that.
But he gets grievously injured. Because he steps in Devon Sawa's traps.
They do. This is like a practical joke. He steps in the trap and he's screaming and falls on the ground and goes to reach for something, and his arm gets the other trap.
Yep. It's like that scene in the Collector when that dude falls on all the bear traps.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
It's like, all right, this is good God.
Yeah, surprisingly, this character does not die.
He barely lives.
Barely lives, but and that's really all that. Like, this is the only other thing that happens is the finale. Like, this is a pretty tight story.
Well, there's not much to it. It's a lot of them walking in the woods. It's kind of a slow burn, but it also has, I don't know, it has a real creepy lead up, because they do a lot of nice little details. Like, they find these X's carved on the trees, and that leads to the stash. And, like, Devon Sawa finds one side of that, and then the park ranger finds, like, the other side of it, follows the X's. The attention to detail on, like, the bodies, on the way the woods looks, on just the quiet moments. I never got bored. Watching this,
definitely not.
Because it's clearly tension leading to something.
Right, and then the tension, like I said, the movie subverts itself halfway. Like, about 40 minutes in, Devon Sawa finds this treasure trove of bodies, so the movie becomes something else entirely at that point.
Right.
So it's like a different kind of tension. Like before that, you're like, oh, the wolf is out there. And then after that, you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Right. And they created this situation where you think like, oh, when Devon Sawa gets home to find Nick Stahl, shit's gonna go down. Mm-hmm. And no, he just never goes home.
He just never comes home. Yeah, they take the character that is...
It was smart advertising because I just didn't... And also, the way they frame him as the main character for a while, you just think that he's not going to die. It never occurs to you that he'll die.
Right, because they set him up, like, he plays it with such, like he knows exactly what he's doing.
Right.
He's very skilled at this, living in the woods and trapping and hunting and tracking. And Camille Sullivan and their daughter, they depend on him so much that it's like you just don't conceive of him just not being in the movie anymore.
Right, but it does work for a horror movie. Like, of course you get rid of Devon Sawa.
Yeah, you get rid of the character that like makes it seem like they have a chance.
Right, and they're also... It's just that they're building... It feels like they're building to something else. It feels like they're building to Devon Sawa losing his mind in some way. Or
maybe?
becoming a part of... And the wolf and stuff is that you don't... Again, it's like, in retrospect, I'm like, of course he would die. Of course that's what they would do.
Yeah.
But the way they write it, it's just you don't see it coming. Unless you listen to a podcast about it first. And
again, it happens off screen.
Yeah, and the fact that it happens so anticlimactically. So like she goes out. Oh yeah, the dog dies. There's a dog.
Yeah, the dog gets killed by the wolf.
Yeah, and she hides the fact that the dog died from the daughter. She's like trying to protect her. She buries the dog, and I think it's when she's out catching the rabbit. She radios Devon Sawa.
Not yet. And it's after the rabbit. Because she kills
the rabbit, and then she radios him, and it's like, I can't do this on my own. I need you.
And then she can hear the click of his radio.
Yes, and she finds his dead ass body, and so she knows Nick Stahl is no good.
Yeah.
She heads back to the cabin with her gun, and things don't quite work out for her.
No.
Nick Stahl sucker punches her, chokes her out. She passes out. Last thing she sees is her daughter screaming. And she wakes up. Nick Stahl is in full ass, I'm clearly a serial killer mode.
Yep.
He's like, where's your goddamn car keys? I need your car keys to get out of here. She points to where the car keys are. She's still recovering from being choked out.
Yeah, she got hit pretty hard and strangled to the point of unconsciousness. So
that'll take a lot out of you.
She's had her hit points depleted significantly.
Yes. Nick Stahl puts on his "I'm going to kill somebody" Walkman.
He does. He has a murder Walkman.
He has a murder Walkman. Of course he does. And he starts preparing to do some sort of murder on this woman. She bear traps him in the face.
He's going to assault her.
Yeah.
And then murder her, I'm sure.
And so she traps his face. It's like not a bear trap. It's like a small. It's probably a wolf trap.
It's a trap. It's one of the traps that's smaller and doesn't have teeth.
Yeah, and she snaps it right in his stupid face.
Right on his goddamn face.
She incapacitates him briefly here, right?
Yeah, the bear trap takes him out.
Okay, it's enough for her to get up and look in the other room, and we don't see what happens to her teenage daughter, but we see what it does to her face.
Yeah.
And that's all we need to know.
Yeah, she is dead.
Very effective.
Yeah, we don't see a body, we don't hear anything.
Yeah, this is full on it turns into like a funny games type situation, this ending, where it's like, oh, all bets are off now.
Yeah.
All bets are off. He has done something to her daughter and she is dead. Yep. And that is all it takes for her to make a decision in her brain. She gets Nick Stahl, she drags him to the barn, and she skins him alive.
She sure does.
And he remains alive even after she tears his flesh off.
His face off.
His face off.
They're playing music, so it's not as. I mean, it's fucking wild, but it's not like as horrible as it could be because you're not hearing anything.
No, but they show him afterwards. He looks like a Metalocalypse drawing. Like he looks like a fucking. He's just like like this fucking horror Muppet. It's again. They just show it because what do we care? you know.
Yeah, and she does.
It's like, you skin Nick Stahl. You skin him.
Do it.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
And she does right as she's about to tear his face off, she does the wolf scream that she did earlier. She just screams directly into his face and then tears it off of his body.
Yeah, and then she puts it on and assumes his identity to trick his brother into telling her where the bomb is. No, so this whole time the cops are also showing up because they followed the smoke. Nick Stahl was burning evidence, and they found old bear-trapped Ranger.
Yeah, barely clinging to life.
Yeah, and so the cops show up just as she walks out of the barn holding his face. Cops don't know what's going on, but they know to leave her alone.
Yeah, they don't mess with her.
Yeah, she drops the face and just keeps walking and sits down. Meanwhile, Nick Stahl is just flopping around in the barn.
He's hanging up, just
fleshless.
Gurgling. like you said, like a Metalocalypse drawing.
Yeah, exactly. He is shocking looking.
It is fucking wild.
Yeah. And she sits down on the porch and she turns off the Walkman and the movie ends.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the film.
That's it. It's like I compared it to like a really good like Stephen King short story or something like that. It's just a very focused thriller that doesn't. It's very efficient. Like it doesn't really dawdle in any place, and it doesn't introduce a bunch of unnecessary characters or anything like that. It's like, nope, here we go. This is just, we're gonna tell a real fucking brutal ass story, and this is it, and that's all we're gonna focus on.
So is Nick Stahl's agent just like, he looks at him and he's like, Nick, baby, when I see you, I see horrible sex pervert murderers who get what's coming to them. Because this is like he was this in Sin City.
Yeah, he was.
They just keep making him a horrible sex murderer who gets what's coming to him.
Who gets like just cartoonishly wild retribution.
Yeah.
Like if you recall,
it's just like, oh, Nicky, when I see you, I lack all empathy for that face.
If you recall, in Sin City, Bruce Willis tears his penis off and punches his head into liquid.
He demolishes his penis twice.
He does.
Twice. And again, no sympathy for him.
Nope.
He deserves it. Both movies.
Both
Nick
times.
Stahl. It's either this or John Connor.
Yeah, or Carnival.
That's it. Sure. But like, good God.
Yeah,
good fucking God.
What a career.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
He's got that Mitchum energy where they're like, you're just a real creepo, Nick Stahl.
Yeah, you're going to play some of the worst monsters in the world.
And you're going to fucking like it because that's all we're giving you. Yeah, holy shit, this movie. Mm-hmm. I apologize to anybody who wasn't ready to hear all that.
Yeah.
It's brutal. Don't watch it if you can't handle, brutality. I think it's not quite. We talk about the idea of something being so cruel that it becomes funny.
It's not that.
It's not that. It's not that at all, because there's some upsetting shit that happens to very good people, and you are ready to see Nick Stahl get skinned. You're certainly not against it, I also like the way that they set it up. Like, they have three different, like, there's a brief scene in the beginning where Devon Sawa shows is like walking his daughter through how to skin something, and then the daughter has to show Camille Sullivan later how to skin something. knowing there was a shocking ending and seeing those scenes and being like, oh, something's going to get skinned in this movie.
It didn't occur to me until she dragged him to the shed. I was like,
oh, wow.
as she was dragging him to the shed, it clicked. I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Nick Stahl's going to get skinned. That motherfucker.
Oh, my God.
She had more time. She would have tanned the hide, too. She would have worn a little stall suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is...
It's
man.
Fucking wow.
I mean, I guess, okay, so I have a larger question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think this movie means? Meaning, what do you think they set out to do? Are they just making, because there's definitely themes throughout.
There's themes in here. I think the ultimate point, to borrow a phrase from Michael, of this movie was just to tell a ripping good yarn.
Yeah?
There are themes in it.
Yeah, there are themes. I guess I'm just wondering. You're right. I think you're right. Is that they're just trying to tell a brutal, slow burn horror movie. This is like, all right. I love Friday the 13th. Mm-hmm. I love. I'm not a big fan of movies like Hostel as much. And I guess this is sort of why is that this blows that type of movie out of the water for me. Because when you're really trying to tell a grotesque story about something horrific happening to people, if you overload them with it, that's when things, I think, get ineffective. That's when I shut down.
Yeah.
This is telling like a really elegant story leading up to, realistically speaking, what conditions would lead this woman to skin a man? And they're like, all right, well, let's figure it out. And that's what this is.
Let's have Nick Stahl kill her entire family.
Yeah. Yep, that'll do it.
That'll do it. And they leave the daughter's fate on us. They put that image in our heads because they don't ever actually show us or tell us what happened to her.
No, yeah, they don't.
So it's like they're kind of being like, whatever you think would push her to this is what happened.
Extremely effective technique.
Yep.
That is essentially what this movie seems to be about. It's about a woman yearning for civilization again, completely turning into an animal.
Yes.
And like, I don't know. I do think there was thought put into this. Things like the significance of the Walkman, because it's like the only electronic item. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's significance there
outside of the radio. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But like the daughter doesn't know what it is.
Yes.
They listen. I think they listen to records at one point.
Oh yeah.
But there's something with the wolf too, where the wolf is like the wolf juxtaposed with Nick Stahl, where it's like, okay, these are two different kinds of predators.
Right.
One is manageable and predictable. The other is insidious and unpredictable.
Right. One is,
and they both represent different. Like one represents nature, one represents society.
Exactly. Yeah. One is almost an anomaly. Mm-hmm. There's the idea of society sort of pushing in because her big worry is she wants to bring her daughter to society. Mm-hmm. She's worried about this wolf, and it turns out that it's society that is the problem. Like they do this theme of like the bear. You keep feeding the bear, and the bear keeps coming, and nature and civilization merging. Mm-hmm. And then the idea here is there's this murderer from civilization who's going into nature, who's like pushing in on nature. And I don't know if there's anything significant to say about that idea. It's not like that's a major problem, that the woods is filled with serial killers. Mm-hmm. But there's something there, right? There's something in like society found them in the woods.
Yeah.
And the things that Devon Sawa is like avoiding.
Yeah.
Because he never gets preachy. He's never like, the big city is terrible. But that's sort of the implication in this lifestyle.
He has one line where when she's like, we got to report the wolf. And he's like, well, first of all, what are the fish cops going to do? And it turns out he's right. They're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
But he also says something like you when you reach out, people just come in and bring their problems with them.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So
there's something to that, I think. Mm-hmm. Get the idea that they're not in the big city but there's a murderer that one would consider like a big city type of murderer.
Right. It's clear he's murdering these women and just dumping them out here because nobody's out here.
Yeah. I have a question real quick.
Yeah.
Unrelated. When does this take place?
It appears to be modern.
What is modern?
I would assume like contemporary to now, because when the
No, I mean what in the film is modern?
Okay. This is what tipped me off. When the ranger goes to the rich people's house, the woman is holding up an iPhone and complaining they don't have any cell reception.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
No, that clears it out completely.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say everything else is of the 90s or 80s.
It could be the 80s or 90s, because even like Nick Stahl's Walkman is old.
Yeah. I don't know if there's something there. Because it does seem like that one house that the ranger goes to is like an oasis of actual modern life.
Yeah.
Where the rest of the town is like, including Nick Stahl, is like stuck in the past.
Right, like he's like the car that he abandoned by the roadside. It's like an old K car.
Yep, the phone he has is like a satellite, a giant satellite phone.
A giant sat phone, yeah. I guess it's just to really drive home the fact that this is so off the grid. They're like 2 decades behind.
Yeah, I guess so. I just find that interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And I also, like, there's no... I think none of the main characters care. It's obvious why, like, the main family doesn't have cell phones, but, like...
Right, that's you don't... They don't even need to explain that.
Yeah, but like the Rangers don't have cell phones, and it's like
right.
It's because they're so off the grid. That's why he needs a satellite phone.
It's interesting they do that because plot wise, it doesn't matter whether or not they have cell phones. You know what? That's what it was. When the Ranger gets bear trapped, he could, if that motherfucker should have had a cell phone.
Yeah,
I guess the implication is he has the sat phone because the
but he doesn't. He doesn't bring it with him. Then remember. Like they keep saying like, don't forget the sat phone. She keeps having to remind him to bring the sat phone, and of course the time that he doesn't bring it is the time he gets fucking bear trapped.
But the idea is that it's also there's just no reception where they are,
right? Because
it's Canada, and Canada has no reception throughout.
Right. It's Canada's exists in the 20th century.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that it's like it's not that's one of those things that a movie could have done in a bad way. They could have done he forgets his cell phone. And then when they show that he forgets his cell phone, you know instantly what's going to happen. You know what I mean? But they do it subtly enough that this movie is really good at not really, like, at least for me, it could go anywhere at any point. Like, I wasn't sure where anything was going to go. Although when the Ranger does find the X's, it crossed my mind that he's got to watch out for them bear traps.
Yeah.
But in general, I never quite knew what was going to happen or how everything was going to add up. Mm-hmm. Just that it was. And it does quite nicely.
Yeah, no, it's very focused. Like I said, it's pretty tightly written.
But here's what it is. There's enough like loose ends that you don't really know how it's going to wrap up too. And they do certain things where, like, when they set up the Ranger, you think like, oh, is this going to be the person who comes rescues them? And nope, that's not what it is. You know, there's a lot of pieces that could go in a lot of ways traditionally with the tropes. Mm-hmm. And then they do weird ass shit with it, all amounting to Nick Stahl getting skinned.
Yeah, getting his face ripped off.
Yeah. To the delight of the audience.
Like, she gets
that face right off of him.
Yeah, we're not, like, she doesn't just take, like, a couple of pieces.
No, she gets the whole thing.
She removes his pelt.
Yeah, the whole thing.
His whole ass skin.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Although, all right, well, I don't know if she got all of his...
She definitely got, like, his back and, like, his front and his face.
She got a good amount. She got a good chunk of Nick Stahl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I believed it. I believe this person would have been driven to that point. And again, a person that they established would hated to harm a bunny.
Yeah.
It's about the idea that, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's that thing where nature is neutral.
Yeah. The wolf
until man gets involved. Until people get involved, nature is pretty neutral. And then nature gets fucked up. It starts eating garbage. It starts eating dead corpses.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, is the bear eating the garbage and the wolf eating the corpses.
Eating the dead
changes
bodies.
the animals.
Right, because we see the wolf one time. We only see it once. And
she says the wolf is meaner.
It looked pretty nasty.
Yeah, that's a wolf that got a taste for human flesh.
That's a crazy wolf.
Yeah. That wolf's been eating good.
He's been eating rotting bodies. It has done something to its brain.
Mm-hmm. So there's an element there in that we have like Devon Sawa's character is complicated, because the question is like, do you think do you think it was noble of him to want to live in the woods with this teenage girl and his wife?
It's a difficult question. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's.
Or do you think it's foolish to not join society?
Man, I don't know. I mean, that's a hard ass life.
Yeah,
and it's a hard life to foist upon somebody else.
Yeah, if you're a single person living in the woods, I think it's easier.
Yeah.
But when you got like a family that you're providing for in the woods, it's tough.
And he's clinging to this, like it's, he's like we said, he's third or fourth generation. It's just always been what his family's done, and it's, like with the bear and with the wolf, like it's just like the world is just encroaching further and further in,
right?
And it's just like it's not sustainable for him to do this,
right? I mean, it's not sustainable for a lot of people to live in society too.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So like, I don't know if they were trying to make any sort of comparison there, but like the economy is bad for their fur as well.
Yes.
Where they're making less and less money on the fur. I guess that's what I mean, is theoretically you could survive in the woods just fine if you're in the right area, I think, and you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, sometimes you got to skin Nick Stahl.
Yeah, sometimes you got to scream into Nick Stahl's face and then rip his face off.
Yeah. Shit, that would have been good eating if the cops didn't come.
We don't know what she's planning on doing with that face.
She's going to do something. Yeah, I love that the cops were just like, we better not.
And we better just not.
They don't even try to arrest her. They just let her walk by. That's an interesting question, is what they think is going to... Because they found the stash of bodies. I guess they have a witness. I guess she's going to be able to clear things up, sort of.
I mean...
But like at one point, I was wondering if the movie was going to be so cruel as to make the cops think it was Devon Sawa and his family or something at the end.
Yeah. No, I don't...
But then...
It wasn't that kind of movie.
No, it really wasn't. And again, she is there to explain why she ripped Nick Stahl's face off.
Right, and there's going to be there's a dead little girl in the house, and her dead ass husband in the woods.
And once she explains that, I feel like they'll understand.
Yeah,
they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. That checks out completely." Yeah. Ma'am, it seemed really weird when we got here, but now that you explain it, it's not weird at all.
No, this actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I'm gonna listen. We got to write you a ticket, for killing Nick Stahl,
for littering. You threw Nick Stahl's face on the ground.
Littering.
Yep.
You can compost that.
It's biodegradable, man. Nick Stahl's face is biodegradable.
It's fully biodegradable. It's like a banana peel at the window of your car. Mm-hmm. Same thing. Jesus Christ, Hunter.
Yeah, man.
Who made this? Sean Linden wrote and directed. Mm-hmm. Good for you, Sean.
Yeah, no, it's a good movie.
Oh yeah, not much under his belt until this couple movies. Fuck. I got nothing more to say about this.
Yeah, no, that's
also Camille Sullivan. Good job.
Yeah, she's really great in this. She really makes the movie.
She really does.
It's after, like we said, after the halfway point, it's pretty much just her.
Right, and again, it's this thing where I spent the first half of the movie like, Devon Sawa, good job. Like, you're doing great. And he's doing legit good. You know, Devon Sawa, he's gotten to an age where it's like, you don't have to play a stoner anymore.
No.
You know, like, this is the first movie of his where he plays like, I feel like a full-grown man. I know that's not true.
It might just be the first of his movies that you've seen.
Yeah, but it's just like, Devin, you're not SLC Punk no more. I mean, we watched The Fanatic, but he's still kind of Devon Sawa in that.
Yeah,
he's listening to Limp Bizkit and shit,
asking his kid if you're down with the biscuit.
yeah. They still, when you got Devon Sawa, it's like, we better make him like a Limp Bizkit fan or something. I mean, that's not why they did it in that, but in this, he's like grizzled mountain man, and it was like, shit.
Yeah.
Look at him go.
Yeah, it works.
It works. And then the movie, suddenly I'm like, oh, well, he's dead. Oh, this lady's killing it.
Yeah.
And she just takes over and is fucking amazing. So they're just both really good. Mm-hmm. Good on them.
Yep. Nick Stahl is as creepy as he ever was.
Nick Stahl is there, too. Just being Nick Stahl.
Just being an absolute gremlin.
Yeah. Doing everything he can to make you want to rip his face off.
And then it does.
And then it happens. Yeah. Great film.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Let me tell you about our Patreon. It's patreon.com/gamefully unemployed. We have exclusive podcasts there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman and Fox Mulder is a Maniac. We also have tiers where you can watch movies with us every Friday night. Tiers where you can produce your own podcast. Mm-hmm. You can request special episodes of We Just Watched. There's a lot going on there. Go look for yourself.
It would really be in your best interest to check it out. We also have a store, tvpublic.com/store/gamefully unemployed. You can get t-shirts, masks, mugs, stickers, all kinds of stuff. Check that out and leave us a review. That helps.
Yeah, on the Apple Podcasts or wherever
you're listening to it.
Yeah, leave us a bunch. Make dummy accounts.
Mm-hmm. Make lots of sock puppets and just praise us.
Just
use your sock puppet voice to
praise,
just full-throated praising of us.
Mm-hmm. That's what we want from you.